Hello again, that's twice today. I don't want to blog too much and get boring, but yeah, another blog, sort of on, not the same subject at all, but like, sort of around the same issues, as the last one. Yeah, so part of the last lecture, right at the end, we watched a video, and it was about the notion of parents having mental health difficulties, what impact that has on their children. Is it inevitable that they will then have their own difficulties? Is that just a myth? And you know, it's just stuff like that. And it was quite upsetting because it was a young carers group, and it wasn't about therapy or counselling, but it was about them expressing themselves and being able to have that space to do that. And part of that was doing role plays, and these young kids, I think he was about 8 or 9, and she can't have been much older, sorry, played out a scene of he was being the mum, lying on the sofa, and she'd come to wake her mum up to give her medication, and the mum wouldn't wake up. That was my lamp falling off. The mum wouldn't wake up, and it was hinted at that she'd killed herself. She'd taken an overdose, and it was quite upsetting for me because my mum had depression, quite bad depression. I probably should have warned you at the beginning about this. Actually, it is going to be a really open, frank blog on what I think about my mum's mental health and how I think that's impacted on me. So if you're not happy or emotionally stable enough to accept listening to those opinions, then it's probably best to turn off now. I'm not trying to be harsh, I'm just trying to express the reality that I do have some pretty selfish, pretty horrible views on my mum's mental health and its impact on me. But then I was a child, and children do tend to be quite selfish people, just by default. Yeah. And yeah, so she'd found the mother dead, and that was one of my biggest fears as a kid, that my mum was going to die. Before she even got depression, she had pancreatitis and gallstones, and she had to have her gallbladder taken out. And she had 2 attacks. The first attack was, I can't remember now. It was just before Christmas, I think. It was just before Christmas. When I was about 10, and I was home from school, so it would have been quite close to Christmas. And I just remember hearing her screaming and the pain that she was in, and just absolutely convinced that she was going to die. I was going to be left with my stepdad, who, I would go to say he's a lovely man. He never mistreated me, I don't know, it's a complicated relationship, but yeah, and that I was going to be left with him, and all I wanted was my mum, because I was a girl. I don't know whether it was because I was a girl or I just wanted my mum. And yeah, and then the doctor just said it was heartburn and came out and just said it was heartburn and various other stuff and just to get on with it basically. And then it was New Year's Eve and it happened again and she got taken to the hospital in an ambulance and then was diagnosed. But she had to, I don't know whether they had to wait a couple of weeks or what happened before they would take her gallbladder out. And she was in the hospital and my dad would take us to see her and I just couldn't look at her, I couldn't be around her. I would cry every single time. I was just so terrified that she was going to die and that I wouldn't have her. And it's sort of, in the lecture we were talking about pivotal roles in human development. This was the lecture this afternoon. What makes some young offenders continue to offend and what makes some young offenders grow out of it and live law-abiding lives. And I think that was like the start of a severing of our relationship. It was never very good, but it was always, she wasn't very attached to me, but I was always clinging to her. But when that happened, I sort of started to push her away. And then she'd always been quite sad and she hated me and just wanted my sister and stuff. But her depression started to get really bad. And she's a teacher, English teacher, secondary school. But she was covering a science lesson one time and a kid tried to strangle her with a Bunsen burner lead, like the rubber tubing, and she had like a nervous breakdown basically and became like really depressed and she would just like stay in her room all the time. Oh my god, that's my therapist speaking. You can listen to this. Hello. It is indeed. Hiya. Hiya. No worries, no worries. But yeah, what happened was I phoned up to change my address, but also a lot's happened over the last few weeks. Like I've been in hospital, a psychiatric hospital in Halifax, and because there was no bed. Yeah, there was no beds in Bootham or anywhere closer. It was Halifax or London. And I'm now involved with the community mental health team, and I was speaking to Anne about everything. She said that I really needed to let you guys know what was happening. The West team, yeah. I can't remember because it was only my first appointment yesterday, but I've got another appointment on Wednesday, not tomorrow, next Wednesday. So yeah, because you said about like asking for a new appointment, an appointment before December, didn't you? Yeah. No, not really. If you can, Wednesdays and Fridays are best for me, but it doesn't really matter. I'll fit it in whenever. Nice. Yeah, that's fine. Whenever. Um, I'll tell you when, yeah, yeah, because it's quite a long explanation. Okay. I'll see you later. Carry on, sorry. Okay. Yeah, yeah, like that's quite predictable for me, isn't it? That, yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Okay then. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You too. Thanks. Bye. Bye. Sorry, I think I should probably edit that out because you don't really need to know that, and I'm getting quite upset now. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna stop it there for a second, and